Welcome to the Coach Toolbox. I'm your host, Dr. Ajay Nangalia, a leadership coach and counselor. This channel supports your professional and personal development as a leader with research-based and practice-focused learning. And we bring you the best career and life advice from guests who've been there and done that successfully. And now, our session today. Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's episode on increasing your wellness. And I'm really excited because today we have an amazing guest. His name is Ashdin Doctor. And one of the best things about Ashdin Doctor, and which is why I've invited him on our show today, is that he talks a lot of sense. I'm a great fan of his podcast, which is called The Habit Coach. I think it gives the best research information on wellness, every aspect of wellness, and he does it in ways that are absolutely simple to easy to understand, very hard hitting. So Ashdin, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you. And Ashdin is a podcaster. The name of his podcast is The Habit Coach. He's a YouTuber. His YouTube channel is called Awesome 180 Habit Coach, and he's also the founder of Awesome 180, a habit coaching program. And what's different is that Ashdin focuses on changes at fundamental levels of behavior. So he's talking about quality of sleep, nutrition, movement, reducing stress, hydration, breathing, all aspects. It's not just about eat less and exercise more. So it's not just diet and exercise, the two words that if you're like me, really make you very nervous. So we're going to talk, fill you with dread. So today, listeners, Ashdin is going to give us some awesome secrets on becoming and focusing on our wellness. And I almost want to say, give us magic stuff so that we don't have to eat less or exercise. We can sit at home and aram se lose weight.
I love it. In fact, sitting at home and aram se losing weight is actually a very research technique. Because as soon as you're in a state of aram, you're going to start losing weight.
How cool is that? How cool is that? Okay, so tell us, first of all, a little bit about your personal journey, because I know that you've done the journey that we are all struggling with, and that also makes you a very credible person to share what you're going to share, which is talking about wellness. So tell us a bit about that.
Sure. So my personal journey started about 5-6 years ago. I was working in my family business, Ormax Consultants, which is into market research and consumer understanding. And being a family business, as a child, you always have that chip on your shoulder saying that, I have to be better than everyone. I have to constantly prove myself. So when I started my first vertical within the company, it had to be the largest turnover in the first year kind of vertical. It had to be the best. All of that was the kind of thought process that I had in my mind when I was approaching it. And at that point of time, there was no concept of wellness because, my perception of success was, how much am I earning? Am I driving the right cars? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? Because those were the kinds of perceptions of success that were drilled into me. And there was no concept of eating healthy. There was no concept of sleeping on time. And the word stress was worn as a badge. The more stressed I was, the more I felt that I was actually achieving something. And in the process, I remember this so vividly. I was getting ready for a presentation. We were making a presentation, and I don't think I'd slept for 2 days getting the presentation ready. And I was wearing a shirt, and I suddenly started sweating profusely. My heartbeat started increasing, and I collapsed on the floor. And
oh wow!
And yeah, and this is like just out of 30, right? And in your mind, you're like, what is happening to me? But again, it is not a wake-up call because you feel this is normal, right? Everybody who's pushing themselves, hustling, working hard, which is what society tells you is important, is going to go through something like this. It's like what Japan's going through right now, right? The harder you work, if you fall asleep on your table, it's a sign of that you're working very hard. And but the penny didn't drop at that point of time. Luckily, the penny dropped later, and I said that I can't live like this. So being a typical type A person, I was like, okay, what is the hardest goal I can possibly give myself? Right?
Okay.
Because that's how you are on yourself. No? I mean, like,
Yeah,
chota mota
yeah,
karna,
yeah.
no fun.
Yeah.
So I said that now from being overweight and nice and tubby, I said six-pack abs. Chalo, we have to get
Okay.
six-pack abs. So the journey started in this very vain idea of getting a six-pack ab. And I suddenly realized that I just can't exercise enough to do that. I have to focus on my nutrition, I have to focus on sleep, I have to focus on so many aspects. And that's when it suddenly struck me that you know, you have to start changing the foundations of your life in order to make that change. And when you start changing the foundation, this change of wellness or health is so easy. So that losing weight and all of that happened within a year. Getting six packs happened within a year. And that started this thought in my mind saying, then why are people struggling? If it is so easy to do, what is the mindset shift that needs to be made? Or is it something else that is lacking? And I broke it down into two aspects. I said that I realized that there were two fundamental issues that were there. One is the lack of knowledge and awareness, because all our knowledge and awareness comes from where auntie ne ye bola tha, right? Or that uncle ne, or when
Yeah.
you hear this phrase, people say you must eat fruits in the morning. Ye people kaun hai, right? Where are you
Yeah.
getting your information from? So can you get
Yeah.
information from credible sources, scientific sources? That was the first one I realized, because I made the same mistake. On my journey,
Yeah.
I went through probably every single diet fad that was there available at that point of time. उस समय keto नहीं था, none of that was there. But then I realized that they make a second fundamental mistake, which is they try and give themselves a big, audacious goal, like I did, six-pack abs, right? Luckily, I managed to get through to it, but most people don't get through it because they realize that they feel that the motivation drops or their self-discipline drops. I
Yeah.
realized this
Yeah.
because when I started talking to friends and they would see this change, they would ask me, how did you do it? And I would tell them that, this way, and you have to do this, and you have to do that. And they would come back and say, but I don't have your motivation. I don't have your
Yeah.
discipline. I'm a
Yeah.
foodie, yaar. Ashdin, you don't understand. I'm a foodie. How can I do these kind of things? So,
Yeah.
immediately realize what are the kinds of excuses people are coming up with. So, this whole habit coaching business was born out of these excuses, because I said that, if you're going to continuously say, I don't have motivation, you're not going to start. The victory comes from when you start, right? So all we have to do is get the ball rolling. And habits are a great way of getting the ball rolling, because you don't have to make a dramatic change, you have to make a tiny change. And then that tiny change done consistently will start compounding over time. So the whole idea is make small changes.
Small changes. I get that. All right. So that is an awesome story, which is why I just love your podcast, The Habit Coach, because the credibility speaks for itself. And you have described your journey. I think 99.9 of our listeners, including myself, we are here. We have certain perceptions of success, which may need rethinking. We wear stress as a badge, and we need to really start with relooking at the foundations of our life. We all want the six pack, and hey guys, if you really want to check out Ashdin's six pack, check out his picture on the podcast and also on LinkedIn. He does have one. Right, so he does have a six pack. So what you're saying is, all of us want to do it,
Hmm,
and like your friends, we start, but then we give up and say nahi hoga.
correct.
It's not. And but now what you're saying is, we need to start with changing habits. Tell us a bit more about that.
So, we fail often because we give ourselves a crazy goal. I remember, like, this is my favorite story, and I repeat this often, which is that a friend of mine said that tomorrow morning I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. and I'm going to go for a 5 kilometer run. Right?
Yes,
We've all
we've
been
all done that.
we've all been there, yeah. Like, this
Yeah.
friend has never run 5 kilometers in her life and has never woken up at 5 a.m. Now tomorrow she wants to do both. Now she's setting herself up for failure. right? And we set ourselves up for failure all the time by giving ourselves these kinds of goals. I call it self-sabotage, right? Nobody's doing it to you, you're doing it to yourself. And the beauty of what I talk about on the podcast is exactly that, if you want to get into an exercise habit, you start off by just wearing your shoes, right? You start off by just wearing your exercise clothes. Right now that you want exercise clothes, if you don't exercise, you'll feel a little foolish. So chalo, you'll do 20 squats. You'll do a little jogging on your place. You don't want to do a full 1 hour workout, chalega, no problem. But at least you're changing your mindset, saying that I did something today. And we all know that even 1 is more than 0, right? So even if you did that 1, chalega, tomorrow it will become 2. Before you know it will become 1,000. And that's the way that habits grow and change.
So true, so true. And one of the things is, and as you're saying, I see myself doing that, because I want to do 1 hour of yoga starting with 108 Surya Namaskars.
Oh, wow.
And then the entire thing, and I get up and I say, yaar, chodo, aaj nahi yoga. Let me just sit and have this cup of chai. But the starting itself, I think we set it up to fail.
Correct.
With this ambitious goal ki I'm going to really nail it. So you've also spoken about it being like a sort of 360 degree approach, which is why you're using the term wellness, and you're not just saying eat less and exercise more. So tell us a little bit more about wellness and how it has to be a comprehensive thing.
Love it. So, unfortunately, these categories of wellness, fitness, etc. are so blurry in our minds. But the way I look at it is that if you want to have an awesome life, if you want to, live to your complete full potential, right? You want to build a skyscraper of a building, you have to focus on the foundation first, right? It all starts by focusing on that foundation, knowing how deep you're going. And there are 6 pillars of this foundation that are important for us to cover, right? The first one is sleep. Then we have de-stressing. 2 things that us in our busy executive lives don't even think about at all: de-stress and sleep. Then we think about the normal ones, which are, food. So I call it nutrition, because we're not thinking about dieting, we're talking about nutrition. Then we think about exercise, which I don't say exercise, but I call movement. Because even in the office, if you're standing and moving around, it's still movement. But if you're sitting in one place, you're still a sedentary person, no matter if you went for a one hour run in the morning. Then
that's true.
Then we have hydration. If we are 75% water, 60% water, right? It's important that, we replenish that. So hydration is critical, especially because we're in offices all day, in ACs all day, and we're going to be losing water by the gallons, right? So it's important. So don't take gallons seriously, but we're going to be losing a lot of water. So it's important for us to replenish that. Hydration is very important. And last, which we never think about, is breathing. The hydration and the breathing are so important for our energy balance. When we work and we are in an office environment, we typically feel completely burnt out by 4 p.m., right? Which is why we need that chai with lots of sugar in it. We need that coffee with lots of sugar in it. But when you start focusing on these parameters and you suddenly realize that your energy is coming from elsewhere, it's not coming from the sugar, it's not coming from the caffeine, you immediately can start making changes. And that is where the foundation of energy comes from: hydration, breathing.
Wow, I never thought of these two also. So, sometimes we look at it very narrowly in terms of fitness, and we also compare ki, I look at my stomach, or I look at my body, and I look at somebody else, and I say, oh my God, that person is so much thinner. So the entire focus on health and wellness really becomes on losing weight and not looking as fat as the other guy.
Correct.
But you're talking about something much more than just looking at it in terms of being fat or not fat.
Yeah, because see, while my journey started off with this whole 6-pack idea, I realized that having a 6-pack is not necessarily the healthiest thing, right? Having a little bit of fat on you is important because it improves your mindset. You're not constantly in that rigid dieting frame, or the rigid food frame, or the rigid exercise frame. You're not constantly giving yourself that challenge. You have to relax as well. And once you relax and appreciate the way that you're living through that life, it makes a big, big change. I'll give an example. with all my clients, when we started working out, and they all started with this goal of losing weight, they lost the weight. After losing the weight, the thing that they remember the most from this whole experience was the amount of energy that they got from it. Why? Because energy is nothing but currency that comes out in the form of how you treat your family once you get home after a tiring day, right? Energy comes out from the amount of passion you can put into your passion project. The more energy you have, the more you can do and achieve. We never think about it that way. So we, like, in fact, today's podcast is about energy versus time. And I say that people keep chasing time and trying to pack their day, not realizing that they have to preserve their energy and protect their energy more than they protect their time.
How cool is that? I have never thought of it that way in terms of energy terms. And what you're saying is, if we actually look at it from energy terms, we'll do so much better overall in life. And it just like becomes an awesome life, living to our full potential, not just about losing weight, which is where our narrow focus is. And it sort of, even if we start, the entire effort collapses in under 2 days because we're just not able to lose and keep it off.
Absolutely.
So you've spoken about these 6 pillars. So tell us a little bit more about, let's talk this through, and if you can give us like one thing we need to do. So if we are able by the end of our conversation today have 6 ideas or 6 little things, then we are ahead. We have started our journey today.
Super. Okay, so which one do you want to start off with? You pick a nice
easy one. Sleep.
Chalo, lovely.
Or is that really easy? I don't know.
You asked now, what is the best way of getting well by just lazing around? Sleep is that.
Yes, sleep. Yeah, absolutely.
Because our body regenerates when we're sleeping. And I remember when I was going through that whole process of pushing, I said that I will sleep when I'm dead, right? Those were the words I must have said God knows how many times. And we realized that we think we can survive on 5 hours of sleep. We think that we can survive on 4 hours of sleep. But it is not true. What we need to focus on is the quality of the sleep that we're getting. And sleeping because we are so dead tired is not sleeping, right? You have to, there is a reason why your body spends this 6 hours, 7 hours in this restful state. And you have to prime your body for sleep if you want to really, really optimize sleep. And it all starts by following what we do for babies. Like how do we put babies to sleep? We don't put them in front of a TV, make them watch Netflix with cartoons jumping all over the place and then say, now go to sleep, right? But that's what we do to ourselves as adults. Or we are working frantically on a presentation and then we close our laptop, put it on the side and say, chalo, now I'll go to sleep. Impossible. You are still thinking about that email that needs to be sent tomorrow. You're still thinking about 1,000 other things. The key to putting yourself to sleep is to set an alarm for bedtime, right? If you want to sleep by about 11 o'clock, you set an alarm for say 10:30, right? You can set it for 10 also if you're feeling ambitious. And what you do is, because like some people say 1 hour, what will I do with my life? What a waste. And you realize it's not a waste. But so you start off with half an hour and then increase it to 1 hour if you feel like. So what you do during that half an hour is important. You put off the lights, you put your phones away, put your electronics away, pick up a good book, change into your pajamas, and you wind down for the night, right? You actually have to give your body this process of winding down, getting into a more relaxed, comfortable state, and then boring yourself to sleep. Okay? You cannot excite yourself to sleep. You have to bore yourself to sleep.
Yeah. And that's like putting a baby to sleep, right? We rock them gently, or we sort of hum a very gentle tune. We don't sort of sing a rock song to them to fall asleep.
Correct. And we are big babies after all.
That's true. And you know what? I really got that. We've heard all our lives, you put an alarm to wake up, and what you've said is set an alarm to go to sleep. That is awesome.
Yes, absolutely. And try not to set an alarm for the waking up.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
for example, I
And
know if you have work, it's impossible to do that sometimes. But like over the weekend, don't set an alarm and see how much your body actually wants to sleep.
so what you're saying is don't put an alarm and over the weekend see how much your body needs to sleep. Is that what you
Correct.
said? Because
Absolutely.
we lost the line a little bit.
Absolutely.
All right. So I get that. So what you're saying is that there is a ritual to sleep. We need to start implementing this process. And this doesn't seem so hard. So it also means, really, Ashton, is that we have to start learning to say no to those all night parties and partying hard and this sort of, oh, I can do with only 4 hours of sleep, 5 hours of sleep, this sort of false bravado that we have tend to develop around sleep, or continue watching movies till late night. That's a no now.
It's not about becoming a saint or becoming a sadhu
Mm,
in a mountain, right?
mm,
Because we still want to have fun. What is the point of doing all these things if we can't go have fun in whatever way that we define fun? But the thing is
mm.
that you have to weigh out, is this more important or is that? So typically, as a habit, what I say is that never miss 2 days in a row, right? So that equals out to, in a week, never miss the habit twice. So,
Okay.
so if you want to spend a night out, go for it, but do it twice in a week. Don't do it like 4 days a week, right? So choose when you're going to do it. Be more cognizant of that instead of just going and like partying every single night. I used to do that, but like now, obviously, you make a choice, and you will leave the party at 11 o'clock. The first few times you'll leave early, and your friends will call you mad, but that is perfectly fine, right? Because then it'll become a part of who you are, and then say, "Are, he's going to go. Let's start meeting earlier. Let's start meeting earlier." So that's what's happened with me.
How cool. How cool. All right. So that's sleep, and put an alarm to go to sleep and follow these sort of rituals to calm your body down. And so what you're also saying is that it's okay in this quiet space. It can take up to 30 minutes or so for you to fall asleep, and that's fine. That's fine.
Correct. Absolutely. And if you ever are in a situation where you can't get sleep, you're forcing yourself to get up and move around. Don't try and
All
force
right.
yourself to sleep. Sit on a sofa, look at the wall, and you will start falling asleep. That's when you go back to bed.
Yeah, but you don't switch on your device to check last email kya aaya hai or
Nay, nay,
something
nay,
like
nay, 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 nay. Once you put your phone to bed, you don't disturb your phone just because you are awake.
that. Okay. All right. Let's come to point number 2, which I think you said was de-stress.
Correct. So de-stressing
So
is
what?
one of those
Yeah.
important things, especially for us in our jobs. And this is one of the points I wrote down. I wanted to mention it in our discussion because I know the people listening are in this race, right? Of
Mm,
getting better, improving, wanting more, wanting more, wanting more, and it is so addictive. It is so addictive getting those wins that we never stop and appreciate those wins. And one very, very important aspect of this race is stopping from time to time and looking how far you've gotten, right? And appreciating all that you've gotten. And that itself is a dramatic de stressing moment because you realize that two things happen. One is you realize that you're not only in a competition with everybody else. So now, because you've taken that time out to pause, and I'll explain how to do
mhm,
that, you
mhm,
you're you're not constantly in that running with everyone because you're pausing. But what you can also do is look back and see where you've come from. If your eyes are only looking in the front, you're just going to see this finishing line that's extending ahead and ahead and ahead, and the more faster you run, the faster it's running away from you. But when you turn back and look, you see where you've come, and then that's when you start feeling grateful. This is something that I work a lot with, especially with my um, my my industrialist clients, my CEO clients, because they've just spent their entire lives in this blinkered mentality that they don't spend time appreciating what they have. And a simple gratitude practice is one of the most important habits that you can cultivate, right? And then you can use gratitude in so many different ways throughout. Like I've done possibly 5-6 episodes on just gratitude because it is so important and how to use it in different ways. Gratitude is,
and yeah.
sorry.
So each of those episodes is absolute gold. So I just want to encourage our listeners, if you get onto the Habit Coach podcast of Ashdin's, just check out those 4 5 gratitude. episodes are really lovely. Each one is so powerful, and what I like is, by the way, which I think you will love,
Mm.
is that most of his podcasts are about 7-8 minutes, except for a few interview ones. So it's a 7-minute nugget of brilliance. Sorry, I just was too excited
Thank you.
because I really appreciated that entire series on gratitude, because nobody else really speaks about it.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful for you saying that. So, gratitude is this very powerful emotion, because what gratitude does is it allows you to see that people are doing things for you without expecting anything in return. Gratitude is that emotion that you feel when things have happened in your favor without you having to have any effort in doing it. And you suddenly realize that the world is actually working with you instead of against you. Now, we don't spend that time to appreciate those moments, and which is why we get stuck in a rut, feeling that it's me against the world. And I know how many times I must have said that to myself, me against the world. But the world is with you. You just have to stop and think about it. So I tell my clients, and I think this is something that you should do with your clients as well. It's so powerful. 3 things every morning that you are grateful for. And for the first 30 days, you cannot repeat a single one. So that is 90 things to be grateful for in a month.
How cool. What you're saying is to track this at the start of the day. 3 things that we are grateful for. Just make a note of it.
Correct. And write down I am grateful for. Full sentence, not just mummy,
Okay.
daddy, auntie. And
Okay. Okay.
and gratitude can be for things. It can be for, I'm so grateful for my car, it has never broken down. It can be for that. It can be for a person. I'm so grateful for my mom for all the support that she's given me. It can be for a incident also. So for a situation,
Mm.
I'm so grateful that I met Shah Rukh Khan when I was doing this. Whatever it is, it can be something that you can be grateful for. And you can pull out that gratitude from your past. So a school teacher that you are grateful for. All of that can come down into this gratitude journal.
How lovely to start a gratitude journal. And even something so simple like the moment you've said school teacher,
Mm.
my mind is flashbacking into lots of my school teachers whom I've really been grateful for, but I've never ever thought of them. But if I did this, perhaps that would also be there. And you're right, the more we think about this world is against me attitude will go,
Mm.
and it'll be replaced with gratitude.
Yes,
So true.
absolutely. And fear goes away. Fear and
Ah.
gratitude cannot exist in the same mind. So anytime you're
Oh.
scared of something, if you can turn that situation around and see how you can be grateful for it. I remember when I was giving my first talk to about 250 people, right? I was giving a talk on habits and energy. And I was so nervous. I was so scared. These were very, very senior people. And I paused. I went to the washroom. I paused and I said, I am so grateful that these people have come here to hear me. And as soon as I started thinking from it from that perspective, the gratitude that I have for them, the fear of presenting went away, and we could have a fantastic session.
That's also a wonderful perspective, to replace fear with gratitude. So if I'm nervous, I just look at what I'm grateful for.
Mm.
Awesome.
Loving
Awesome.
it.
Absolutely. Okay. Now number 3, the one I think that I know I struggle with, and perhaps a lot of us struggle with, which is nutrition. Can you give me a secret diet? Can you tell me if I should go to keto, or what should I do, or is my vada pav okay, or is non-veg okay? Everything around nutrition in 60 seconds or less.
Intermittent fasting, 2 words.
Yeah.
I love
Oh
it.
wow.
I love it.
Okay.
It has changed my life for sure.
Mhm.
It's intermittent fasting. When I started fasting 6 years ago, it didn't exist. I mean, people didn't speak about it as much as they do now. So people thought I was mad and thought I was going to die, saying that I'm not going to be eating for 16 hours. But fasting is something that has existed for centuries in the world around us. Every single religion has some form of fasting incorporated into it. It's a therapeutic healing practice, and especially for busy executives, it is important, because then you're not wondering about where's my next food coming from, where is my next meal coming from, where are my biscuits, and you're not having crashes of energy. You see, you will
Hmm.
notice that you will have moments in your day when you are irritable, The irritable comes because you first had energy, now you don't. And that comes because you ate and now you've stopped eating. So now you have to eat something again to feel that energy again. When you practice intermittent fasting, you get a steady state of energy, and that is that beautiful feeling. Your brain starts working better. So intermittent fasting, honestly, is the best. You can eat whatever you want when you're in your eating window. If you want to eat vada pavs, eat vada pavs. Slowly, slowly, I know you will want to give it up. But in the beginning, if you want to eat vada pavs, go for it.
Okay. All right. So you actually did. You answered in 60 seconds or less the one thing that will dramatically impact in terms of this head of nutrition, which is intermittent fasting. And I know you have a podcast on intermittent fasting in your channel too. So I encourage people to get some more information about intermittent fasting. Once again, research it out, start slow, I would say, and then adapt the process to to make it work for you.
Correct.
So all right,
Hmm.
intermittent fasting, the next thing again, which we all struggle with, which is exercise, but you're saying use the word movement, not exercise.
Correct. Think about movement and moving through your day. So there are two very nice ones. If you want to think about exercise, there is something called a Tabata workout, which is a 4-minute workout that you can do, and it replaces about 20 minutes of your cardio. So this was the first exercise plan that was created in a laboratory, right? So we've done lots of Tabata routines on our YouTube channel. We have lots of Tabata routines on YouTube. It's basically 20 seconds of a high intensity exercise followed by 10 seconds of a break. And then you repeat that for 8 rounds. So in 4 minutes, you're done. And that's your exercise for the day. And once you do this, you will end up wanting to do a little bit more, fidgeting a little bit more, do that. So that is your exercise thing that everyone must do minimum.
Mm-hmm.
The other one
So
is,
you're saying
sorry,
4 minutes, and I'll get a benefit, is it? Just in 4 minutes?
just in 4 minutes, you'll get a benefit of about doing 20 minutes of steady state cardio. You know, that walking cardio that you would
Okay,
do,
yeah.
right?
Treadmill,
Not that.
walk on treadmill.
Correct. So this is brilliant because it brings your heart rate high up and then brings your heart rate down, and then brings heart rate high up and brings your heart rate down. So it's that up and down of that heart rate is when your heart actually gets stronger, and which is why it is a very beneficial way of working out.
And you have Tabata routines on your
Mm-hmm.
YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if listeners are wondering, I will also put up the link to Ashdin's YouTube channel and of course the podcast channel in the podcast description for this episode. Anything else on movement?
Yes. The other one is that when you are at work, have 3 workstations. Okay. That doesn't mean that you need 3 desks. What you need is you need a sitting station. So something where you can sit down like on a chair. You need a standing station. So you need to get yourself either a stool or somewhere where you can put your laptop so you can stand and work. And you need a third station in terms of either sitting on a sofa or sitting on the floor if you're working at home. Why? Because you are bringing in different movement patterns in the work that you are doing. What happens is when you're sitting on one chair, even if there's a little bit of imbalance in the chair, you're going to have muscle spasms or muscles that are being worked differentially on your body. So this way, what you're doing is you're bringing movement to the muscles so that your body is not getting used to one static way of sitting.
Yeah, and especially if you have creaky chairs, or if you're unlucky enough to get that one chair in the entire office, which absolutely sucks, and despite all your requests, it's not been changed.
Correct.
This will sort of offset some of that, this thing. So sit, stand, and sit in a comfortable place. So 3 workstations.
3 workstations.
Okay, all right. So hydration. So in terms of hydration, can I drink? Is tea, coffee allowed? Is booze allowed? What do I do?
So tea, coffee allowed, but it depends on the way that you have coffee and tea. With lots of milk is not considered hydration, right? So as soon as you put milk in your coffee or tea, what happens is that the milk binds with the beneficial chemicals in the tea and coffee called polyphenols, and these beneficial compounds then don't get absorbed in the body. So which is why people say that tea is very good for health. Yeah, but if it's had without milk, like the Chinese do, which is why they live that long. or the Japanese do, but not when it's had with milk like the British do, and which is why the British don't live as long. Although the British consume more tea than the Chinese or Japanese do. So it's interesting to understand that the simple habit of putting milk in tea can reduce the benefits of the beverage that you're drinking from a health point of view. So
Okay, I never knew that. Thanks. I mean, that is absolute gold. So the good thing is, of course, I'm an Americano and black tea fan. So, but I didn't know that milk reduces the health benefits of tea. That's awesome.
yes, Americano for the win. I'm missing my Americanos. Huh, okay.
Sorry, you were saying, and I interrupted you again.
Then no, it's not at all. The next part is when you think about hydration, the simplest habit, 30-second habit, is carry a bottle of water around, a 750 ml bottle of water, because 1 liter sometimes gets too heavy. 750 ml I found is the best. And what you do is you sip it through the day. So it sits on your desk and you sip it through the day. Every 3 months, change the bottle. Not from a health point of view, but because what happens is that your mind gets used to seeing that same green color bottle. So now when you start putting a red color bottle, it's still, there is novelty value to it. So as a habit cue, it's something that you can pick up and keep drinking. So get yourself a 750 ml bottle and use that to measure how much water you're drinking through the day.
How cool. Plus, you've given us an excuse now to go out bottle shopping, which, by the way, I love.
Really?
and, and I have tons of, fancy sports bottles.
Oh, you're right.
So,
I saw you drinking from one right now. Correct.
Yeah, so you're right. You actually just change the bottle every 3 months, and of course, you're not saying throw it away. You're just saying every 3 months move to a different bottle from your
Correct. You can
bottle
cycle
collection.
them afterwards. Yeah.
Absolutely. So drink water as 750. So just one bottle a day, or you how many
No.
bottles through the day?
So there is no standard prescription for how much water you should be drinking. Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
no scientist has figured this out. It ranges from some people saying 3 liters, some people saying 4 liters. Don't go over 4 liters because it could get dangerous, but drink between 3 and 4 liters, that's fine. But the trick is you don't drink that 750 ml in one shot. I've seen clients saying, oh yeah, I haven't drunk any water today. Cut, 750 ml down. No, you have to sip it through and through, because the sipping is when your body absorbs the water. When you guzzle the water, you just pee it out.
Oh, okay. I get that. All right, and the last one is very unusual. Yeah, breathing. I mean, how can that help? You're just breathing anyways, no?
We're not breathing. We're really not breathing. Like when you experience breathing for the first time, it's like an aspect of you has opened up that you never knew existed. We are not breathing properly. Have you noticed how a baby or a pet breathes? When they breathe in, their stomach goes up. When they breathe out, their stomach goes in. And when as adults, how we breathe is when we breathe in, our stomach goes in, and when we breathe out, our stomach goes out. This is called a stress breath because we're breathing through our chest, right? It started because at some point of time somebody said something and we suddenly got into this stress position. It's like you breathe like this when you want to run away from something, when you want to contract all your muscles. And if you're constantly breathing from your chest and not your stomach, you are constantly giving your body that cue saying that I'm stressed. When you teach yourself how to breathe through your stomach and you learn different breathing practices, what happens is that your body starts calming down naturally. You see, there is something called the gut-brain axis, right? There's a nerve called the vagus nerve that runs from our brain through our heart, lungs, stomach. Now, you can't control what's happening in your stomach. You can't control what's happening in your head. You can't control what's happening in your heart. The only thing that you can control is what? The lungs. That's the only part of this autonomic nervous system that we can control. So what we do is we control our breathing, and through the breathing, we control our thoughts. We control the way that our heartbeat changes, and we control the way that our stomach performs. So the breath is the most powerful tool for controlling this axis in our body. You can do something called the box breath, which is a breathing technique that is a calming technique. It is taught to Navy SEALs in America to calm down when they are being shot at by their enemies. So imagine if someone's shooting at you and you remain calm. This breathing technique can teach you that. So when an angry client, sends a mail in, box breath is what you have to do to stay calm.
Okay, and where will I get some more information on box breath?
So box breath, the internet is full of box breath. I have done podcasts on it. I in fact have one where I guide you through the whole breathing process. So I think if
Okay.
you just save that on your phone and practice that from time to time, that's a great way. In fact, that was how it was intended to be. I've done a video also.
I must check that out. I've missed the box breath podcast. It must
If you're
have
on
been done.
Instagram, you must at least follow the channel. It's called Ashdin Doc, ASHDINDOC, and I'm forever putting out interesting information and tidbits, so you can at least get a little bite-sized
Okay.
information from there.
Okay. So all our listeners who are on Instagram, unfortunately, I'm not. I'm a little bit of a technical hermit here.
Please
but
immediately get onto it.
I get onto Instagram, so, and follow Ashdin also on his channel. So that's how. So tell us just a little bit more. You earlier said hydration and breathing and energy balance. So as we start bringing our conversation to a close, explain this a little bit more.
So what we don't realize is that our water is a very, very important part of the way our body produces what is called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. That is what is the measure of energy in our body, right? We think of energy as kitna sugar khaya, but that's not how our body thinks about energy. Our body uses something called ATP. And the chemical process that uses ATP, that generates ATP, has water as an important ingredient. So when you're well hydrated, you are technically producing better quality energy. When you're well hydrated, your muscles are working better. When you're well hydrated, your blood is flowing smoother. So hence this whole resistance is being taken out of the machine, right? What we're trying to do in any format of energy, see, you have to think of energy in two ways: the amount of energy that you're putting in and the amount of wasted energy you're taking out, right? Imagine driving a car with a leak. You want to plug the leak before you put more energy in. We as humans or society right now only thinks about putting more energy in, and we don't think about plugging the leaks.
Yeah.
So getting rid of stress is plugging a leak, because the amount of time you're spending thinking about events that are never going to happen is plugging a leak, right? Similarly, just drinking water is getting the resistance out of the system. That's
so true. I get that. I never thought of drinking water as, and looking at this as plugging the leaks, getting rid of stress as plugging a leak in the system. That is so true. I love the metaphors that you put up on your podcast, and which is why there's just such a strong connection with the material that you present. So, Ashdin, one of the things I wanted is that really six things that each one of us can do to start in baby steps, making a change. And I think also to give our listeners a flavor of who you are and how you can support them in terms of through your YouTube, Instagram, and the podcast channel. So I encourage listeners, join me investing in our own wellness. And Ashdin is a great coach in terms of the input that he puts up there. So in closing, Ashdin, any sort of last tips, any something to just encourage us all?
I think the most important thing is in the stage of life that we are at is make a list and introspect on what are the things that are important to us. And what I mean by what are the things that are important to us, I mean, don't look at what society thinks is important. Don't go by what people call the predefined rules, right? Money is important, this is important, that is important. What genuinely is really, really important to you? And then once you've got an answer to that, realize which rules you need to break, right? Realize which societal norms and rules that have been forced down your throat you need to break. And then don't waste the moment chasing after them. Chase after the ones that you realize are the most important to you as a person, because you are unique and you're different from everybody else. Because that is when you start living, right? We are all doing this to ultimately have a fantastic life. And if we don't have the life part, what is the point? right? So make a list of the things that are so important to you and just chase those.
Wow. All right. I am convinced. And Ashdin, thank you so much for being on air with us. I had this expectation that I wanted to do something around wellness for our listeners, and I've been waiting to have the right guest on show to talk about it. And I knew I had found the right guest in you, and I know our listeners would tremendously benefit. And all we need to do today is to just start taking small steps like Ashdin has encouraged us. So Ashdin, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be on your podcast.
And that's it for today. Thank you for listening. Please connect with us on coachtoolbox@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to follow, subscribe, and review this channel. Details of our ICF approved coach training programs and our services as executive coaches and coaching supervisors are on www.globalcoachtrust.org. See you in our next session.